All right, and we just finished up the training session, and we are here ready to sit down and talk a little bit more about more than muscle, something that is more than just training. Because again, you get into natural bodybuilding and you hear people all the time talk about reps, sets, macros, everything under the sun. And people like to hear the nuts and bolts, but genuinely I think people want to know a little bit more about who you are outside of the gym, outside of bodybuilding. So when you're not bodybuilding, what are you doing?
So nowadays, I think mostly what occupies my time is work, one.
And what do you do for work?
So I work for a online fitness company called E2M Premium, where we actually have a fitness app where we provide workouts basically for people who's at home. We give workouts to people who it's hard for them to find the time to work out. So we created an app for them to go in there and say, hey, you can get a workout in 15 minutes. So our elevator pitch is fitness that moves with you. So no matter if you're in a hotel, you're traveling, you're busy mom, busy dad, firefighter, police officer, we got workouts that you can get done any given time.
Yeah. So kind of lowering the barrier to entry, so to speak, for all those people who maybe would go, I don't think that I maybe want to go to the gym and spend 2 hours there every single day. You're telling me that it's possible for them to still get results and still live a healthy life, huh?
For sure, because I think the entry level to fitness in any aspect is just get moving, right?
Right.
I think the phrase that we coin is one day or day one, right? Just get your day one started and then continue on that trend. So I think our app and our job is to make sure that people reach their day one and quit procrastinating. Like, hey, you don't have enough time, you got 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like you can walk a mile in 15 minutes. You can cook meals in 15 minutes.
For sure.
Anything you need to do, you can do in 15 minutes. So we're just providing that platform for anybody to actually start working out. So
that's awesome. It's awesome. Give somebody an opportunity to go, okay, I have a really busy schedule. How do I actually make this something that I can fit into my lifestyle? Makes sense. So really, you're probably spending a lot of your time in regards to fitness and bodybuilding.
Yeah, sure.
Is there a point where when you switch off from work, do you ever get an exit from fitness, or is it just that 24/7?
So I think there is no exit to fitness for me. I mean, of course, I take vacations. I clock out mentally, right? But I also, I mean, we'll get into it later, but I also coach people as well.
Right.
So realizing that other people who rely on you for their fitness goals, you really don't never clock out, because it's almost like, hey, they're relying on me to help them.
For sure.
But I think when it comes to me, like, I'm a former baseball player, so I play softball. It's a little getaway,
the
right?
White Sox hat too.
But that's still me moving and doing something fitness related. So I think outside of that, like I cook, sometimes I bake. I used to have a real lucrative baking business.
Oh, really?
That's the monkey wrench that I'm throwing into the pot today. But,
here, like locally?
Well, not like so. Basically, I used to bake at my house and sell treats at shows and sell treats over the holidays. And
what kind of like bakery items are we talking
it was
about?
like I was the cookie man.
The cookie man.
I used to make cookies, man. I made cookies, and then I actually have like maybe at the end of the interview I'll drop my socials, and I literally have a highlight of me just making cookies and taking them to shows, which no one ever suspected me to be making cookies.
Right, yeah, because that can't fit into bodybuilding, obviously.
Absolutely not. But then I realized I was just like, it's actually the best business, because what do we want right after we get off stage? Cookies.
Probably.
So
something sweet.
Exactly. And then it's also like you're not selling to the competitors, you're selling to people in the crowd who wants cookies. So
that's a good point.
It worked. So, but yeah, that was one of my things I used to bake. I got a 1-year-old puppy, so it kind of occupies a lot of my time nowadays too.
Yeah. Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a little boy, a little Cocker Spaniel, man.
Okay. What made you want to get a dog?
So for a while, I stayed busy, but then as life slowed down just a little bit, I was just like, I felt like I needed something to keep me busy. So then a puppy, it was either a puppy or a baby, and I guess a puppy's easier to get obtained, I guess. So,
I think so. Yeah, there's some prerequisites for the baby, I guess.
So the puppy literally came, my mom, I have a sister with cerebral palsy. Their dog was originally for my sister. My sister had 2 hip surgeries in the past 24 months, so in the last 2 years she had 2 hip replacements. So they didn't have time for him. So I took over for him, and then grown attached to him, and then he now occupies all of my time. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they have him for a long while before You got him?
No, they had him for 2 weeks.
Wait, didn't you say? Oh, you said he's only a year old, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they had him for, I think, roughly 2 weeks, and then I got him, and then after that, I trained him, I took care of him, and then he grown attached to me, so now he's mine. So.
Well, you're dad now. You're
Yeah.
the one that takes care of him. You're the one that gives him his food. So, yeah, I could see that 100%. So, okay, so you're taking care of a dog. You're not baking anymore.
No.
So, but that's probably the rest of your free time.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it's your sister that has cerebral palsy?
Yes.
So is there anything that you do from like a taking care of her perspective? Like I'm sure you're probably giving some of your time and your energy to make sure that she's taken care of.
So yeah, so she's still currently with my mom. Growing up, I mean, that was like a group effort, of course, a village effort of, helping, making sure that she got everything she needs.
Is she younger or older?
Oh no, I'm the youngest of 3 sisters.
Oh, okay.
Well, I always say that and it sounds bad. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, so I'm the youngest and I'm the only boy, so I have 3 older sisters. So when I say I'm the youngest of 3 sisters, it sounds like I'm a sister.
Right,
so
yeah.
I have to correct it. But no, she's older than me, but we all, took our toll and helped take care of her. So occasionally I go back, visit, and things of that nature, but yeah. So.
Yeah. You say you go back and visit. Where is home for you?
Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Fayetteville,
Yeah.
okay. Now you grew up there. When did you move to Charlotte?
So born and raised Fayetteville, graduated high school from there, moved to Greensboro because I graduated from North Carolina A&T. Shout out to Aggies, y'all know.
What was your degree in?
Sports science and fitness management, Kines major. So,
so you probably you kind of have known that you've wanted to be in fitness
Yes.
forever, essentially.
Well, yes and no, because it kind of smacked me across the face as I graduated because I was a all-conference, all-region baseball player in high school. Fractured my ankle, and then I got basically baseball kind of got snatched away from me at that moment because, of course, I'm not as fast. Had to take time off, and then I met a personal trainer instead of going the traditional route to a physical rehabilitation center. I got a personal trainer, which is weird, but I did it. But then I think even my senior project in high school was for personal training, and then my passion took off after I met the right person in the field. Like he kind of directed me to this field. Like I felt completely different. I felt strong. My confidence grew from working with this guy. So then after that, I was just like, this can potentially be a route for me.
Okay, so that kind of segues you into the fitness world. When did bodybuilding enter the equation?
I think bodybuilding entered the realm in I think my first show was 2017, but I graduated college in 2015. Like I said, once I started working out with this trainer in 2010, I went all throughout college, and fitness became a part of my life. Like that's how me and my friends got close. We went to the gym every day, ran to the gym, worked out, and it just became part of our life. And then after I graduated, a guy at a Gold's Gym in Greensboro like, "Hey, you got good genetics," and I was like, I don't know what that means. Like,
right.
You can't just
but
look
I'm
at me
flattered.
and tell me,
Thank you.
Thank you. Like, all right. So he was like, you should compete. So I think and that was the first toll I heard about, hey, you should compete. And then one of my older mentors, Carmine Pagano in Greensboro, he had this big bodybuilding trophy in his facility, but his facility was for like pro, college, and high school baseball players.
Yeah.
So all I kept seeing was this trophy, and I was just like, what is this? So the first time I ever heard of a macro and counting calories was from him.
And this is after college?
This is after college, yeah.
Okay.
So he was my actually senior year internship turned job turned motivation and mentor. So
okay, so you gotten this was, what was his name?
Carmine Pagano.
Okay.
And
So
he's still going with his program in Greensboro called Sits Tool.
Okay.
So it's a really big program. He has probably produced well over like 30 MLB players out of his program.
Wow.
Yeah. So pretty big deal.
Yeah, no kidding. So, but at this point, you've already kind of written baseball off and all of that.
Yeah.
So you're just getting the fitness elements from him.
Yeah. So there, what my main role was, it was a all-encompassing program where they taught baseball skills, and then they also had a strength and conditioning portion. So I mainly focused in on the strength and conditioning portion because I didn't feel like I had the, I guess I'm not gonna say I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the expertise in the higher level of baseball for the kids. So we had pro guys come back and do that.
Yeah.
But then when it came to the fitness aspect, that's where I was the higher expertise in. So I kind of took the lead role on that, and the baseball players would come and teach them the throwing mechanics, the fielding mechanics, the running mechanics, and all of those things.
Okay. Yeah. Do you still have any interest in, like, does your time go to baseball at all anymore, or is that kind of just non-existent?
I thought about going back and coaching. So like I thought if anything it would be like individual type training.
Okay.
But I think bodybuilder has kind of took up a lot of my time.
For sure.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think the main thing, the closest thing I could get to it now is adult softball, which is crazy.
So at some point, I mean, this guy tells you that you got good genetics and all this. Were you training for a while before you decided to do a show, or was it just, all right, let's go compete?
So it became a bet between me and my two cousins.
A bet?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, we all worked out together, and it was to the point where we would travel to work out back and forth to Fayetteville to work out with each other.
That's fun.
And it's what bonded us together the closest. And then we all three said, hey, we're going to do the same show. We actually ended up doing the Elite Muscle Classic, which is the NPC show in Greensboro.
Right.
Two of us completed the mission. One became a power lifter, so he never competed.
Oh, he took a different route.
So, but it was probably, thinking back, it was probably the worst look I ever had on stage.
I would hope so.
Like,
I mean, for show.
0 coaches. All we ate was chicken and broccoli, and it was just, I placed third. I guess my genetics,
be a testament to your genetics.
Yeah, my genetics carried me to third place, and but after that, I was just like, okay, like I think the competitive spirit in me was just like, hey, if I could place third and not know anything, what happens if I can learn and actually do things? So.
Okay. So at that point, did you then go and get a coach, or did you just start to educate yourself?
So I think back in the day, like it's so far behind, but the resources people have now is not the resources we had back in 2016.
Like there was a lot less then.
A lot less. Like there wasn't all the YouTube channels, there wasn't all the content. Like, yeah, we can go Google things, but it wasn't right in your face. You had to really look for it.
Yeah.
So I think I had 2 different coaches back then, and I would say they were more of learning experiences than coaches.
Yeah.
And then now in 2019, I actually found my coaches. Shout out to Jeff and Marianne Cook. And that's when I truly saw my potential actually being reached.
Yeah. You say those 2 first coaches were more experiences and like lessons learned.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of gaps maybe that you were kind of missing from those coaches, maybe not getting the attention to detail, or?
So I think it was more so of, I think once you learn what the actual prep looks like, you realize the time that was spent with the time that was spent in the process wasn't necessarily the right way for you. If that makes sense.
Okay. The time that was spent in the process. So there's like a lot of things that you could have been doing differently or could have been doing better.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think just a quick example, and like I said, there's no names or anything like that because there's no bad blood.
Of course.
I think it was one of those things where one of my coaches had me changing my food every week. Like
really
had me eating random things that like, hey, eat this. This is the meal plan. You need to go get this, and the food would change every week.
Huh.
And me knowing what I know now, like I coach people, I know macros, I do all the things. It's like I don't have to change my food at all. Like I was eating, I'm trying to think of the one thing I ate that I would never eat again in my life. It was something. It was like a gourd type fruit vegetable that I can't remember.
A vegetable, like a pumpkin or something.
It was like it was something similar, but it was like I would never eat that thing ever again in my life.
Well, and then what was the? Was it kind of just when you got told to do this, did you just put your head down and say, all right, well, he's my coach, I'm just going to shut up? Or was there kind of like a questioning of like, why am I doing this?
I was always inquisitive. And I think the things that, and like when I say lessons learned is more of those things of, I learned what to do with my clients now. So I have I don't want to say open door policy, but I always say it's one of those things of ask me questions. Because I always tell people if I can't answer your question, then I don't know why you're doing it, apparently.
Yeah, and there should be an intentionality and a rationale behind what you do. And I'm so curious if you asked them what the rationale was behind that, what their answer would have been.
It was a do as I say.
Oh, okay.
So, learning process.
Right.
Because it's like almost, I always tell people, it's just one of those things of, and I learned this through sales, I learned this through a lot of different things in my life of, they always say the 3 whys. Like when someone asks you a question, if you ask them why 3 consecutive times, you usually get to the root of the answer. And if they can't answer it, then they probably don't have a reason for why you're doing it. So I think in some cases, there's certain things so small where in certain cases you can say, hey, do as I say, right?
Yeah.
But then also you got to realize from a customer and a consumer standpoint that these people are paying you. So you have to provide them with some type of comfort of why they're doing something.
Yeah, and I think there's like a misconception between sometimes I think when people say, okay, I'm going to go get a coach, they're just assuming that person is just there to give marching orders.
Right.
And I think that's more of how it was, back in the day, old school. Now I think it's starting to shift a little bit more from a narrative perspective, where people are seeing coaches not only as directors and shot callers, but more as mentors.
Correct.
Where they're also responsible for the educational element of it. So you do have that, even if it's not, I'm asking the question because I doubt your expertise or that I doubt that this is the right call for us. It's because I genuinely want to know.
Correct.
And from your perspective, it probably was, not only do I want to know for myself, but I also want to know for the people that I am coaching and for future reference, so that there's a little bit more of okay, I understand why this is even happening. And I think it helps you adhere to the plan a little bit better as well.
For sure.
So, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, you mentioned that you did the Elite first, which is an NPC show, not natural.
Right.
At what point did you decide I'm going to stick with natural bodybuilding? Was there ever that temptation to go over into the untested route?
No. So I think the thing with me is, and it's like a lot of stories that I hear, and that's why one of the reasons why I didn't go the natural route is because I didn't know it was a thing. When I first started competing, I lived in Greensboro. I was like, hey, there's a show in Greensboro. I don't have to travel. I don't have to do anything. But then when I found out about the naturals, the natural organizations, Will Carter, his show was the first show I did. His inaugural Queen City Showdown back in 2017.
Oh, very cool.
Was the first show I ever did natural.
Yeah, I didn't know that was your first OCB show. Yeah.
Well, that was his first one that he had. And I swept that show going into 2017, turned pro, my first show.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like, oh, okay. Now we're comparing apples and apples, and the
NPC show was in 2016, the year immediately prior. Okay.
So once I did that show, I was just like, well, I think I found my home. I found my lane of where I'm going to be, because now I always, even when I tell my guys, I was just like, hey, the one thing about natural organizations is now we're comparing genetics, hard work, and adherence to plan. There's not much else, that can throw you off.
It's an even playing field.
So it's just like, all right, if we're comparing genetics to genetics, hard work to hard work, we can actually measure how hard you work. So it's one of those things where I was just like, all right, I'm cool here. Let's stay here. So
what has, now obviously that was back in 2017, so it has been 9 years almost since you started competing in the OCB. And since then, I'm sure you've met a lot of people, made a lot of friends. What has the community within the OCB meant to you?
Okay. So the community, over the years, my very first experience with the OCB was always great. The people I met from promoters, and it got to the point where I wanted to do so much more. I wanted to make a change even within the organization. So I think early on, maybe 2 to 3 years in, I realized there wasn't men's physique guys judging shows. And I was like,
that's interesting.
How can we be fairly judged if we're not on the judging panel? So I threw my hat into the judging, panel. I was just like, I want to be the guy to judge these shows all the way up until, I think 2 years ago. I know how I used to receive feedback. So 2 years ago, when I judged a few shows, especially pro shows, I don't know if it was frowned upon or looked up to, the promoter liked it. I literally walked up to every men's physique pro that I judged that day and looked them in their eye and told them, hey, this is what I think you can improve on. And it's one.
Wow. And they didn't ask you for this. You
so
volunteered.
It's their feedback, because they're going to ask for feedback, hopefully, right?
Right.
But then I said I also have a level of respect for each athlete that stepped on that stage.
Yeah.
I think most people in that organization knew who I was at the time. I was a former Yorton Cup champion, so I didn't go to them in a higher standard. I went to them as a man-to-man, hey, if you improve on this, dude, you can do this. And it also built the genuine connection of, hey, we're not just behind a table trying to mark you down or look down upon you. Yeah. Because the one thing about judging that we all know is we're looking for flaws. That's all we can look for. We're not looking for what you're good at. We're looking for what you're not good at. Because that's the only way we're going to get through judging. So I think looking at those guys in their eyes, and a lot of them thanked me this was amazing. I don't have to email you and wait for you.
Right.
But
and not everybody even asks for feedback too, even though that's such an invaluable asset for guys who spend all of this time and effort going through a prep, signing up, paying all the fees, getting on stage. And for most people, that's not a super comfortable experience, especially if it's your first time doing it. So some of them don't even know to ask for feedback.
And I think it's one of those things of you can wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks for feedback, right?
Yeah.
And you genuinely want it. And then you can tell that maybe the feedback isn't what you thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But as to if I'm looking you in your face, you know, I'm not writing fluff to you. I'm not going to, like, I'm not giving you anything that I wouldn't tell. Like, and also, I'm a competitor still.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you what I would want to hear as a competitor. Like, I don't want to hear, oh man, just try harder next time. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want to hear like, hey, what can I improve on to be better next time?
How do I try harder? It's
Exactly.
actually constructive.
Right.
Yeah, and again, it shows that you're actually invested in them as an athlete, because I think there is some type of maybe a conception that when they send across that email of please tell me all the things that I could do better, maybe they're not putting all of the thought into it. Maybe they don't really remember the athlete, so there's kind of that concern there. So you going up and giving that to them when it's also fresh too, because that's a whole nother consideration. If you, like, imagine that you go and do a show and you are trying to weigh your options for the rest of your competitive season.
Right.
If you get feedback that you need to come in a little bit tighter and you need to be more conditioned, but maybe that show that you had on the horizon in 3 or 4 weeks' time is something that you do still aim for.
Right.
But if everything that they tell you is you need to be bigger here, you need to grow, that's like, that's not something that you can do in 4 weeks.
Right. And I think even on the other side of that, like doing the due diligence of building a community of, I think it was after actually the show you did, Will Show, this current year.
Yeah.
There was another amateur classic guy, and I spoke to him after the show. And he literally was like, yo, I prepped my hardest. I didn't get the placing I want. He was down in the dumps. I literally spoke to him like, dude, you got a crazy physique. I like told him like, hey, these are the things I see you could possibly be better in.
This is at the show.
After the show. Like I reached out to him via Instagram, and he was just like, the fact that someone noticed him, of course, he says he considered me of a higher caliber, somebody who's proven on the pro stage. The fact that someone would reach out to him in his darkest time, or, you know, we go into dark places after the show, you know, especially when you put all that effort into it and you don't get what you want. And he was just like, dude, that made my day. Like, I thought I was done competing after this. And then now it's just like, you know, I'm going to try again. Just because someone like you who's seen the things sees something in me.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it's about. The overall seeing what the community is when you first join it, and continuing that, you know, atmosphere as you go along.
Yeah, and you didn't even know this guy before. You just reached out. You're like, hey, I have an opportunity to mentor him, but also be a sort of an encouragement of, hey, you're not all is lost here just because you didn't do well at your first show. You might actually have a really good, you know, path ahead of you if you continue changing these things and understand that not all is lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good. So for like that guy particularly, and you mentioned this for a lot of people, that whole post-show phase can be rough.
For sure.
Especially when you're focused on one goal for so long. I get it, I've been there. Is there a part from the beginning of the journey all the way up until where you are now that was like the hardest for you?
I think for me, there is no easy portion of it. Like on our podcast, we talk about so many different things. And I think the one thing that we talked about is there's no off switch for bodybuilding.
That's right.
Because once you cut the off switch off, you feel like you're not making progress. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. So I think for me, I would say the hardest part was, you know, the climb. Like I think I have took my brutal losses, but I think I embraced those so much better. I think climbing to the top is a whole lot different than just making it to the top automatically.
Yeah.
Like it took me, when I tell people my story, it's like it took me 5 times to win the Yorton. Like I competed on that stage 5 times. Some people won it their first time, some people won it their second time. I said it took me 5 different times just to reach the mountaintop. Like getting runner-up feels only good that day.
And how many times did you get runner-up?
3 times.
3 times.
So I think my whole thing is like I took way more losses than I won, and I can appreciate the journey now. So that's why when I speak to my clients and I speak to people, I speak from a different space. I think prep is never an easy thing. I think last year was probably my hardest prep just because I took a year off. And when I say a year off, I took a year off. Like I didn't do anything bodybuilding related besides coach. I showed up to shows, and that's what kept me into the field. I stayed lifting. Like lifting is always going to be a part of my life.
Right.
But I think taking that year off made it the hardest for me to lock back in. Because when I prepped 7 years straight, it's literally off switch, on switch, back on. I'm back on, I'm back on, I'm back on. taking a year off, that off switch is a little bit heavier to cut back on and stay on. So
yeah.
I think last year was probably the most mentally tough. Like, it was just like, I actually had to talk with somebody, and I'll say this here. I was just like, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And then once I kindly came to the grips of the pressure that we put on ourselves, the people who's showing up for us do not care what placing we get. It's only for us. But we always say, hey, we're doing this for this person, or we're doing this for this person. But then ultimately, the only person who's taking the toll is yourself.
Right.
So once I removed that and just like, hey, this show is just going to be a show, and I just got to do it. Like, it's definitely no downplay on the accomplishments or where I placed last year, because I placed second 2 consecutive shows,
right?
Which is no small feat. It's one of those things where it's just like, I think I put a lot of unnecessary pressure on the show aspect of it.
Of course, yeah.
For performance, but then I realized I was just like, if you know who you are at the end of the day and you put your best foot forward, then there really is no pressure.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest balances to play within bodybuilding, is understanding that, yes, of course, anybody who wants to compete, they want to do well. Right. You want to win the show.
For sure.
If you don't say that you want to win the show, you're probably lying to yourself, especially when you invest all this time and effort. So it's a very tricky balance of, you put in all of this work and basically try to control more elements than I would say most other athletes in other sports have like no bearing on. Because again, there is no off switch.
Right.
So every single day we're trying to control so many things to ultimately just have your hands open at the end of the day for things that are not within your control.
Right.
Which is a tough balance to play. And the loved ones that see you go through that process and put that weight on yourself, they only really care, they certainly don't care if you win.
For
they
sure.
only care as it pertains to whether or not it's going to make you happy. Right? So the only reason why they might want to see you win is not because they are going to think less of you if you come as a runner-up.
Right.
It's because they know that if you win, you'll probably be happier.
Right. Correct.
You'll probably step off the stage happier.
How does this placing affect me? Like, that's how it works. So yeah, it's
exactly.
one of those things.
And they just want to see you happy ultimately. So that's the main thing. So now that you've been doing this for, you said the Elite was in 2016. So you're coming up on 10 years of bodybuilding. How would you say that this has changed you as a person outside of bodybuilding, in your relationships and how you spend your time, your character, things of that nature?
So I think early on, and I admit it, like I probably never admitted this on camera. Early on, I was the worst, right? I think we all become super selfish very early on. Like, it's me. They say it's an individual sport. You're not the nicest to be around. Usually you're irritable, all the things. And I really took that out on a lot of people early on. I think now I can manage it a little bit better. Just because I think the one thing I learned is you have to welcome people into your journey for them to understand. Like, early on, my family didn't understand. They always just like, oh, you're skipping things. You're not being around us. You don't. And it's just like, for
Why
me,
are you missing these events?
Right.
Yeah.
For me, I had to do that because I didn't know how to control it. I think now, and it was super dope. Like, the past 2 years that I did the Yorton 2020 and 2025, I had a whole lot more family come to the shows. So when they're able to see the sacrifice and then see the outcome of the sacrifice, they understand. They're like, oh, I see why you don't eat, or why you don't do this. Because I think the main reason I stayed away from a lot of people was just because of the comments. It's almost like, hey, you can't eat this, or you can eat this, or you're looking
One
skinny,
bite's
or
not
you're
gonna
looking
kill
sick,
you.
right? And it's almost like them not understanding. So it's almost like, to a certain point, you want to educate them, and after the education, or they don't want to be educated, it's just ignorance to me. So it irritates me.
It becomes exhausting too,
Right.
because you have all of these people that are trying to kind of pull you in another direction, and you only have so much energy at that point too. You're probably more irritable than normal,
Right.
So you don't want to be the explainer and the educator all the time.
Right. And I think a lot, and I had to explain this to someone the other day. I was just like, they always say like, oh, bodybuilders are mean, or for better terms, a-holes. I was like, the thing is, just think about, as you're getting lower in body fat, your hormones are thrown off, you're not getting sleep, you're hungry. So if you make anybody lack of sleep and hungry, I think anybody would be irritable.
That's right.
The only difference is we're doing it by choice. So therefore I had to learn, like, hey, I'm choosing to do this.
Good point.
So when people around me, I have to realize like, hey, I can't punish you for something that I'm choosing to do. Because at any given time, I can stop doing this.
That's right.
Like nobody's forcing me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a learning lesson that I had over the years of like, hey, when people do choose to be around me, when people do choose to be part of this journey, I either have to welcome them with open arms, and it's their choice to stay. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
hey, I'm letting you know this is what I'm doing. And then I think like the crazy thing last year, like I said, mentally, I was just like checked out. So my friend had a birthday party the week of the Yorton Peak Week. Normally, we're not doing anything.
Right.
I didn't care. I went to the party.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, but I took my meal prep food. I took my meal prep. I drank nothing but water.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that was the growing phase of myself. Because a long time ago, I would like not do that. I was just like, you know what?
2016 Eric would never.
I can't handle this. Like, I can't do this. I'm just shutting everybody out. But then I was just like, for people who, I always say, the people who continue to invite me to things over the years, I make sure I show up for them.
Yeah.
Whether it's me dropping in, but they always know like, hey, this is what it is. Like, this is how far I am to prep. This is when my show is. I'm going to bring my food. So just letting you know, like, is there a microwave there? And usually when I tell them that, like now that I'm basically a decade into this, they know. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's a fine balance to strike too, because you mentioned at the very beginning of it, you start off very selfish. It's all focused on you, what you want to achieve. So anybody who's pulling away from that, it kind of seems like a nuisance.
yeah.
But there comes a point where it is an individual sport, but at some point, like, I think that as you grow, you can kind of turn it from an individual selfish sport to find a way to where it's still individual, but you start to have this like support system around
Correct.
you,
Yep.
and it becomes a lot more selfless. So how do you play that balance between being like a healthy selfish of these are the things that I need to get done and this is how I run my routine, versus being like selfless to where you're not going to allow the things that used to pull you down affect the relationships now?
I think now it's just realizing what energy you're receiving from people, right? So I think back in 2016, Eric wasn't coaching people.
Yeah.
Now I'm coaching people, right? So I actually draw motivation from my guys. I actually draw motivation from my group of people. So it's almost to the point where now I think people kind of know how in depth or how deep I am in the prep. So it's just like either most of the time they're there to help, and if they're not, I can just kind of pick and choose what energy I want to deal with. And then, like I said, with me coaching, like I said, of course, something like this on another podcast, like I coached a guy to the Yorton that I competed at last year. We both placed top 6 at the Yorton this year. Or last year. And so that was one of the moments where people were just like, you can't compete against your athletes. And I was like, no, I can. I actually feel better when I coach my athletes in the show.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, that's me pouring into somebody else. So I have to think less about myself because my coach's job is to take care of me. So when I'm coaching my athletes, I actually feel a lot better, and it actually motivates me to push harder.
Yeah,
So-
it's very interesting because there comes a point where you would think that, and again, think back 2016, Eric, if I give any energy away, it's going to come at a cost and a detriment to me and my process.
Right.
But now that you have people that you coach and that you are mentoring and guiding through this process, it's almost this like weird reciprocation where you're pouring more energy out, you're being filled more as a result because that stuff actually, it motivates you and it fulfills you more because you're like, wow, I can give all this. Those are the days I think that you kind of forget that you're in prep.
No, for
you know what I
sure.
mean? You lose track of the time and you're more invested in this person's process, and a result, you're not just sitting around thinking about how you're suffering.
Yeah, and I think it's also like I said with my guys and with my team, it's almost like when it's my time to go, they're all hands on deck for me. You know what I mean? Like, of course they're not my coach, but it's like back in 2016, how many people were checking up on me? Now I have 20 guys and women who's gonna, hey, how you doing, coach? You good? Like how's your mental? How can we help you? What can we do for you?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. And then like I think the biggest question for me to be active, and a lot of people that I coach, people ask them like, how do you feel about going against your coach? You don't think he'll sabotage you? This is just like, and most of my guys were just like, I have seen my coach literally forget that he was competing to make sure that I'm taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, because I was just like, at the end of the day, like, they beat me, right? Hypothetically, they beat me. That's a win. You know what I mean?
That's on your resume.
Right. Like, I beat them. Like, cool, but I was just like, it's one of those things where like I don't think it's in me to lessen their experience because I've been in those experiences of my experience being lesser.
Yeah.
So I can't do it.
Yeah, and you mentioned too, you're like, they know when it's time for me to go, and that made me think of bigger, longer term. Eventually, there will be a time for you to go.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. You know, you won't be probably competing until you're 70, I
No,
imagine.
for sure not.
So, what do you want to be remembered for when you're done?
I think it's almost like that wherever I came into the sport, whoever remembered 2016 Eric, right? Remember the naive young guy who didn't know anything. What has he done over the time? Like I said, I think one of the things that I pride myself on, and I don't say this out loud, is just the fact that since 2017, I joined an organization that I knew nothing about. I made my way to the top. I think I'm still currently the longest tenure athlete from 2017 to now. And I don't see myself slowing down. Like I still have pretty much, I'm only 35, so I still have a little bit of time in the game, I think. But it's one of those things where I just want to be remembered for impacting as many people as possible. That's why I started a podcast, so people can hear the voice of my experiences and hopefully use those experiences to kind of shape which way they want to go with the sport. I want to, like I said, touch as many stages, meet as many athletes. I think the misconception is people who are successful in the sport have to carry themselves a certain type of way to make themselves seem superior. Like I went to a show in Ohio. I had an athlete out there, and the guy walked up to me. He was just like, "I just knew you were going to be a jerk," and I'm like, I don't know why. I guess they were just like certain people who place a certain way or have certain accomplishments carry themselves a certain way, and I'm like, no. You know what I mean? Like,
did he say that after interacting with you, and he was like confirmed, or he was saying that wasn't the case?
It wasn't the case. He was just like, because he was just like, he didn't know what to expect.
You to be a jerk.
He didn't know what to expect. He was just like, I just knew you would act differently. And I guess that's probably from prior experiences with other people.
Yeah.
For him to assume that. But then when and I always tell people, I was like, the community is in the athletes, right? You can meet as many promoters, you can meet as many people as you want, but the community is in the athletes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that if I was to reach out to somebody in Ohio, the guy I met, like, hey, where's your gym at? Can I come train at your gym? He will let me. You know what I mean? And it's just like the whole legacy is meeting people in this space and creating genuine relationships. I always say relationships over friendships because everyone's not going to be your friend in this space. Right. But if you can create genuine relationships with people, then those could possibly, progress to being friendships. But it's all about the genuine encounters that you meet each and every time you reach somebody. It's like at shows when people see our podcast, they're like, hey, we watch your podcast. And I'm like, so you're awesome. You're one of those 300 people that subscribe to us, right? Like, because
Thank you.
To us, like, and I think we take stuff like that for granted because like me and my co-host, we joke about it, like 300 people, right? And it's like, what's 300 people, right? But then you put 300 people in a room and you're like, all these people know who you are. You may not know all of them, but
they're giving you your time.
Correct. So I think that was like the legacy that I was just like, hey, as long as I made somebody laugh or I genuinely, came across somebody and made their day of, hey, that's Eric and he knows who I am. Yeah. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Great answer. The thing that I really pull out of that is that it's all about impact. Right. Nowhere in that statement of this is how I want to be remembered did you say, I want people to remember that I won this Yorton Cup, or that I was a pro for this long, or that I was like the most tenured athlete, or I had these accomplishments, I had these trophies hanging in my room that are going to collect dust one day. Correct. It was nothing about that. It was entirely around the relationships and the impact that you actually have on the people. And we've talked a little bit about this before in other times where we've trained together, but faith is a really, really big part of your life too. So how does that kind of center around and affect bodybuilding? Like, I'm assuming that you kind of see that as like the central hub, and then bodybuilding kind of branches out from that. So how do you kind of play that dynamic?
For sure. And I'll drop this nugget here just because I feel like this is probably one of the more genuine spaces I've been in. I only said it in one other space. It's like I wasn't always super heavy into my faith. I got super heavy into it in 2023. A lot of different things happened that year for my faith to grow. Like I came to Charlotte one random weekend, and then for my friend's housewarming, met a pastor there, ended up going to the church. You know how they always say, like, a message is always right on time. So the message that day was right on time for me.
Yeah.
Went home, thought about a lot of different things. I think after that week, you know, I kind of went and did the things to be saved, because I was just like, something is heavy on me, because I had this overwhelming spirit of like, hey, you can't do this alone. Like, you keep trying, but you can't do this. And this is in preparation for the 2023 Yorton.
Yeah.
And then I'm telling Cliff-Note versions, but then there was a lot of things that happened. Like, of course, me and my dad didn't have the best relationship. I mended that. Like, hey, I want you to come to this show. No expectations, but, you know, mended that relationship. So
that's awesome.
Fast forward into the show, my dad showed up, which was like the first event he ever came to sport-wise for me. He showed up.
Wow. Even like younger and all that.
Yeah. So he came to that event. So for him to see me actually win the Yorton Cup was big. And then it was a lot of other things. And then after that, like right before that show, like I skipped a very important part. So from me being saved to me, like, hey, I'm going to dedicate, you know, 30 minutes to the Bible every day. Of course, the Bible app is there. So it led up to the show. So from the show to the start of me getting saved was 69 days. I walk into check-ins, my number is 69. So then staying with my friend, the next day he was like, well, 70, number 7, number of completion, time to finish this, right?
Yeah.
So then I think the night before the Yorton, I actually texted my coach, like, this was probably one of the least stressful Yortons I ever had in my life. Like, no stress. Like,
Yeah.
I walked into the Yorton like, this is mine, right? So I texted my coach the night before, and I was just like, hey, we're gonna win the Yorton tomorrow. I'm just letting you know that today. Like, and it wasn't even coming from a cocky standpoint. It was just like, there's too many things. Like, it's too many. I don't believe in coincidences. It's too many things. Like, tomorrow's our day.
Like signs of confirmation, or like I like to call it with my wife, God winks.
Yeah. So then when he was just like, what are you talking about? I explained it to him, and he was just like, I'm about to cry. And I was like, well, we'll cry in the cup tomorrow, right? And that's literally my words. Like, I saved the text messages and everything, and I sent it to him. And then literally the next day, I'm crying on stage with a Yorton Cup in my hand.
So
and
amazing.
It was one of those things where I was just like, yeah, there's nothing greater, right? There's no other sign. There's nothing like that. And I always tell people, I was just like, when the people ask me about my faith, I was just like, early on in prep, in the earlier years, I was just like, there's not a lot of people who understand you. And that's why I built the team, because I was like, now you have 20 other guys who understand you.
Right.
But in your time when you're alone, there's only one person that you really can talk to, and that's God. So I think in every prep, there always became a moment where I became so close to God that it was just like, hey, we're best buds at this point. Like, I could talk to you any given time. So I think at that point, it was just like, and there's lessons in all of that. Like, there was plenty of trials that I went through as well, but I think faith leads it, and then everything else follows.
Yeah, and you said it was like the least stress that you had ever been in a prep before.
I never walked into a Yorton like stress-free. Never.
Yeah, you're freaking out about it normally, right? Yeah. 'Cause probably you're trying to control the outcome a little bit. So I think that, I mean, and it's crazy too, because that also like, that makes you a better bodybuilder, even though it seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Where you have that moment of like releasing it and understanding that those things are actually not within your control. Right. And that ultimately too, if you trust in God having your back and that he's going to be faithful to his promises, all of that stuff is going to work out for better anyway.
Right.
Even if you don't walk out with the cup.
For sure.
So it's a completely different way to go through a prep in my mind than I imagine that you did at the very beginning of it, where probably a lot of those times where push comes to shove, what do? You dig your heels in, you double down even further, and you probably put more pressure on yourself.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It's a very different reaction there. Yeah. So how is it going to drive your next prep?
I think just staying, like I said, staying in my faith is one thing. And then even, like I said, it was, I think I told you this story off camera, but I think faith has became big not only within myself, but it's also in my group of guys that I have.
Yeah.
So I think I randomly sent in a motivational video to them. And it was just a regular motivation. It had nothing to do with faith. It was just motivation. And it was like a bunch of different quotes. And I was just like, hey, y'all, read through this and tell me what sticks out to you. Because low-key, I wanted to get into the psyche of all my athletes. Like, hey, what gets you there, what gets you motivated, what gets you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that pushed me even further or even closer to my faith, knowing that I'm doing something right, is the fact that each person answered with the scripture, with their motivation quote. So it's
That
like
is
motivational
awesome.
quote, scripture, and then even to the point of like most of my guys now, I mean, they were there when I got baptized.
Yeah.
So it was just those
Cool
shared
moment.
experiences of all of us just, you know, building around each other, and not only fitness but also faith.
Yeah, and that is a special element that I want to like zoom in on a little
Yeah.
bit, because that not everybody has that. Not every coach has that. In
Right.
fact, I would think that most coaches have a dynamic where the athletes don't really know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, it kind of sounds like it goes both ways, to
Yeah.
where you're pouring into them, but to some extent, like they also know who you are, and they know
sure.
that you're a human, and then they kind of like pour back into you. It kind of seems like it's a little bit symbiotic rather than just the one-way street that most coaches
Yeah.
probably have.
I think it takes you out of that authoritarian or whatever it is role.
Yeah.
Because it almost shows like, hey man, I'm not perfect. And that's the first thing I preach to all my athletes. Like, yeah, you could walk into my posing room and see all these accomplishments. Cool, I did it. Wow. All right. But I can tell you that I wasn't perfect in any of these accomplishments. And I also don't expect that from you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take that weight off of, oh, you got to be perfect to somebody, it opens up a whole nother avenue for comfortability and transparency to be in that prep.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you preach perfection, when your athlete's not perfect, they're not going to be transparent with you,
That's right.
because they're going to be like, oh, well, it's almost like I'm going to be in trouble. Like,
I can't tell him this.
right. So
Yeah.
I think with me, it's like, I don't preach that. I tell people like, hey, this was a rough week for me. Like, and normally there may be somebody who messages me on the side, hey coach, how can I help you with that?
Yeah.
And it's just different. And that's the dynamic that me and my coaches built. Because like I said, I got two tough coaches and but they know, like literally, he texted me the other day, like, you ready to get off your binge eating train, or you ready to get going? And that's what I need. And I realized from prior coaches, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Prior coaches who wanted to possibly collect a dollar would tell you what you want to keep you around, as to,
Right. They just
hey
wanna
man,
keep
you're
you on
really
your
messing
stream.
up. Yeah. So I need to be, and that's kind of how I tell my guys. I'm gonna tell you what you need, not what you want. Because if I tell you what you want just to keep you around, neither one of us is going to get the result we want.
Yeah. And I think that is something that most people don't understand, but when you actually break it down for them, it makes complete sense.
Sure.
Because you think, okay, if you were just a perfect athlete and you never needed help, why do you have a coach in the first
Correct.
place? You're going, okay, listen. And I think it's very important too, like as coaches, that we encourage those moments of honesty when they come out.
Right.
So when they feel comfortable with you because you've established that relationship and say, hey, you can be honest with me. When they actually are honest and they do have a rougher week, I think it's super important to encourage that and say, like, thank you for being honest with me. Thank you for telling me that, because now I can actually do my job.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if they are constantly sending check-ins across and everything is perfect and there's nothing that you really like need to adjust.
Right.
Obviously you can still give them further than that, but like those moments where they're really struggling or they're trying to juggle multiple things or they're not perfect, that's when you can really like help them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you explain that to them, they're like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. But for some reason, yeah, a lot of times it is just this pressure of like, oh, I need to be perfect constantly because this guy, I mean, he's won the Yorton Cup. Clearly he's perfect, right? Okay, so very last one, and then we'll wrap up for time's sake. Just thinking back to that 2016 Eric, if you could speak to the version of yourself before your first show, what would you tell him?
I would just say the journey's already set, right? I think there's so many different ways you can manipulate it, but you don't have to rush into thinking like you have to do all of this at once. I think we're all in a race to get to the top so fast and realize we miss out on a lot of the experiences. We miss out on a lot of the things. Like, I think early on I didn't talk to people at shows. I wasn't the most vocal. Like, I was just like, hey, I'm just here to do this one thing and leave. Like,
I got a job to do.
yeah, I got a job to do.
Put up.
Business trip. Like, those phrases are so overused, and it's like, these aren't business trips. Like, the business trip should be, when you go on a real business trip, you find out, like, being an adult and going on business trips, it's about networking. It's not about, hey, let me just go do the job and go back home. It's not that. And that's how it was when I was younger. And I think now it's just like, I did something this year that, like, I think when I walked into the building, like, granted, it was the most stressful Yorton. I think I said this on one other platform, which was mine, was I got into a car accident the night before the Yorton. So I just didn't care. Like, when I went to the Yorton, I was like, it's going to be what it is. So, but then,
I'm here and I'm safe.
Right. I'm here,
Thank
I'm
you,
safe,
God.
and I'm going to compete in whatever the outcome is because I'm here.
Yeah.
I did something I never did before in my 9 years of competing. I literally walked the whole hallway. I didn't go into my corner. I didn't just sit there. I walked through the whole hallway of men's physique guys and shook their hands. Everybody. Like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? How you doing? Let's have a good time. Because normally I don't talk to anybody till we line up. That's my thing, because I was just like, I'm in the mode. But I was like, what if I just go greet everybody, give people that respect, like, hey, we're about to go on the stage together, then go get in my corner.
Yeah.
Because then it's an acknowledgement of like, hey, because I feel like I used to carry this, I used to have this portrayal of people being like, he feels like he's better than, or that was just their mindset until they talked to me after the show and they'd be like, yo, you're a cool dude.
You're actually nice.
Right. Like, it was one show, and it's hilarious. There was one show where me and my coach, it was the No Gear Classic. We were sitting in the corner, pumping up. So then it was funny because I didn't talk to anybody, just doing my thing. I win, and I give everybody a cupcake afterwards. Like, it was just like, thank you.
This guy just beat me and then he just gave me a cupcake. That's like a double insult.
You can't hate me after that, though. You can't. It was my favorite cupcake. I gave everybody a cupcake. They were just like, who's this guy, right? And they had mixed emotions about me, but I think ultimately it's just like, hey, you don't have to. And I think, and it's nothing against certain people in the IFBB, but I think the IFBB and the way certain people carry themselves in the fitness realm, they say you have to act a certain way to make it to the top, which is not true. The quickest way to make it to the top and to gain people is just being genuine and networking with the right people.
Yeah. So you'd maybe tell younger Eric, like, hey, bud, like, pull the hood off.
Yeah.
Take the headphones out. Talk to people. Like, be here in the moment. Maybe
present.
don't take yourself so seriously.
Yeah, be present, because I think the last advice that I can give is just like, we compete in a sport where we control nothing except everything that leads up into the show. So you control your prep, you control your cardio, you control what you put in your mouth, you control how much you sleep, all those things. But as soon as you walk on that stage, you don't even control when you turn. So therefore, once you get into that building, there's no reason for you to be high-strung and upset. You don't control anything there.
The work is completely done.
Correct. So it's just like, don't take yourself serious. Once you enter that box or once you enter that room, like, hey, just be yourself, network, have fun, be in the moment. Because that's the one thing I realized, especially when I go to shows and I realize, like, the women's show versus the men's show, the women are back there having a blast. Like,
they're having way more fun than the guys.
Like,
the guys all think that it's their Olympics.
Like, why are we like this? But I think it's one of those things I had to learn over the years. It's just like, I think there is a lock-in point. I think coming from a baseball standpoint, when you're in that batter's box or the nets up circle, it's like, this is when I lock in. But leading up into that, you're probably joking with your teammates.
Yeah.
So it's just like, everyone's routine is different. Like, my routine was definitely different, but it's just like, hey, maybe when I'm in the next up circle, I lock in.
Yeah.
But before that, it's all right to go back and speak, because I was like I said, there was people who knew me from Instagram, like, hey, that's Eric. And I'm just like, it would probably mean something to this guy for me to speak to him, at least.
Yeah.
And that was the stuff that I didn't realize until very recently. Like, dang, that impacts people. That actually changes how a person feel about you. So
yeah, and how many opportunities are you realistically going to have that as a competitor? Like, you spend 99% of your time as a bodybuilder away from the bodybuilding stage and away from the bodybuilding backstage.
Right.
So how many times are you actually going to be able to have a conversation with other competitors who can relate to you?
Right.
You have so many with friends and family members who might sympathize with what you're doing, and they might be appreciative of how much hard work you put in, but they don't really understand because they're not living that same life. So this is the first time where you're actually getting around the camaraderie and the friendships that can potentially develop from guys who have similar interests as you, because you've been living, probably very similar lives for the last 7-8 months. So you're really only going to get that probably 5 to 10 minute interaction with them backstage. Why don't you smile at them?
Right.
Why don't you talk to them for a little bit? Why don't you
sure.
shake their hand?
For sure.
You're going to have so many times throughout your prep and afterwards where you can put your headphones in, you can go lock in, you can go do the set, you can go do the cardio and all that. But when it comes to actually like being backstage, like, yes, be present, be there in the moment, and appreciate all the other people that are there, that are doing the same things as you, that have the same goals as you. 'Cause
Right.
you don't get that most of the time.
For sure.
Cool. All right, well, I think that is going to pretty much wrap us up.
All right.
Again, guys, thank you for listening along. This has been More Than Muscle, episode 1. Thank you, Eric, for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.